This is legitimately going from bad to worse. Hi, my name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Fume. And of course, by my company, Lions Tea Exchange. I am currently running a celebratory 1,000,000 subscriber sale of up to 40% off all of the flavors on the site. While I'm working on my spring blends, grab a box or several of my signature line. You won't regret it, they are very delicious, and it obviously helps the channel out a lot. So, links in the description. Okay, back to the video. Now, things have really been moving and shaking in the entertainment space over the last couple of weeks. We got introduced to the potential new Severus Snape for HBO's new Harry Potter series. The resemblance is uncanny. Disney may have actually made a remake that doesn't suck with Lilo and Stitch. Honestly, this doesn't look terrible. I am genuinely surprised. Except that the transes are mad that this alien Pleakley doesn't look trans or cross-dressery enough in the trailer. So, do with that information what you will. I am not joking. I don't even know what to do with myself at this point. But of course, and importantly, the long-awaited and hotly anticipated live-action Snow White is set to hit cinemas on the 21st of March. And things are already shaping up to be a bit of a poop show? I don't like that. Terrible and a little bit hilarious. You know what I mean. What I have found to be exceptionally funny in the lead up to this film is how Disney has seemingly gone out of its way to stop its lead actress, Rachel Zegler, from talking to basically any media. And to some of you, that might sound weird and counterintuitive. After all, we know that actors and actresses do a whole lot of media in the lead up to a film's release and in the weeks after it comes out, all in an effort to promote their work and encourage people to watch the movie. But this time, very little of that. Probably in an effort to avoid more of this.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. Please shut up!
Outside of a handful of super controlled interviews given by actress Gal Gadot, and I know I'm saying that right because I said it wrong last time and you guys roasted me, and so I'm trying really hard. Anyway, she gave a handful of interviews to safe and friendly shows like Good Morning America. Rachel Zegler, on the other hand, really hasn't said anything at all. Actually, I did some more digging and found a couple of very boring interviews of her on her own, so well done, Rachel! So glad you're being included. Anyway, we know that our girl Rachel likes to yap, so if she's going out of her way to basically escape talking to the media about the film that she's starring in, then I think we can reasonably assume that some things are going on behind the scenes. And then Disney basically all but confirmed this when they showed up and decided to cancel premieres and have secret events and delay advertising and promotions and so on. Not to mention all of the very obvious tension and frustration being expressed obviously or not so obviously by the other actors and actresses on this film. Weird. And I know this might make me a little bit of a bad person, but I can't help but find this really funny. Like, don't get me wrong, I know that there are some people, or probably many people, who've worked really hard on this movie, but I do love watching Disney collapse in on itself. Disney is living proof that you can try to ride one pendulum swing and then get smacked in the face when it changes direction. You guys want to see my bruise? Look at that. Look at how big that is. I did the blood. Yep, I have that. So, back on March 5, 2025, outlets started reporting that Disney wouldn't be having a Snow White UK premiere in an attempt to avoid anti-woke backlash. It's probably smart of them. Normally, Disney would host a big London event, but this time they opted for a secret premiere in Spain with a handful of tightly controlled press events and minimized the number of press questions Rachel Zegler got. And look, it worked. The event went off without a hitch, and instead of talking smack about the film, Zegler ended up performing one of her songs from the movie. And maybe if this was a one-off situation, people wouldn't have thought anything anything of it, except that then it wasn't. Because only a few days later, outlets also reported again that Disney would be treating its LA premiere similarly. The event, which took place on March 15, was again limited to a handful of photographers and an in-house crew. The normal red carpet interviews and whatnot did not take place. Instead, people like Jodie Benson, the original voice for the Little Mermaid Ariel, interviewed Zegler, and I assume that all of this was absolutely very, very controlled and very, very scripted. While I wish that I could hilariously tell you that this is purely because Rachel Zegler is just this awful, the truth is that Warner Brothers actually did this a few years ago with relation to The Flash, because its lead actor, Ezra Miller, was caught up in some controversy too. Except that Miller's was like kidnapping and screaming at police.
I'm transgender, non-binary, and I don't want to be searched by a man. I claim my Fourth Amendment rights.
All I see here is one sir arresting another sir. On a serious but unrelated note, what exactly was Ezra Miller expecting from this? Like, was a woman supposed to come out of the woodwork and do this instead? Like, what were you expecting here? It really does go to show that absolutely nobody cares about how you identify or what your pronouns are outside of your annoying Reddit bubble.
I'm transgender, non-binary.
Now, speaking of caring, because I care about you here on this Hell Gondola, and I want you to be able to stop your bad habits, let's hear from today's sponsor, Fume. Sure. There are lots of ways of trying to stop your bad habit. Patches, gum, pleading with the tree spirits. Please. So when the alternatives like vaping are genuinely terrible, it can really seem like there aren't a lot of options left. But I'm here to tell you that there is, and it's called Fume. Fume is this awesome flavored air device designed to stop any hand-to-mouth habit. And unlike a vape, your Fume has no heating components, no icky chemicals, and therefore isn't making you inhale grossness into your body. Instead, it uses these neat flavored cores, which you just pop into your Fume and go. They have a ton of flavors to choose from, and while I've always been a huge fan of the crisp mint, I'm now all about this orange vanilla. It smells so freaking good, and also I do have to say that the sparkling grapefruit is so cute. I love the pink. I know that's really girly, but I love it. It's adorable. And because Fume is so good at what they do, they've been rapidly expanding their range to include this beautiful Solano Fume, this magnetic base to hold your device when it isn't in use, and recently these really cool toppers, which fit over the top of your mouthpiece and help elevate your experience. So if you too want to stop your bad habit in a more fun way, then click the link in the description, scan the QR code on screen, or go to tryfume.com/Sydney. And when you order a journey pack, don't forget to use code Sydney to get your free Fume topper, a very cool accessory to level up your experience. Now, before a bunch of you are like, hey, Sydney, you're just speculating here, Disney aren't doing all of this simply because Rachel Zegler is a yappy yapper. Well, yes they are. Not only is it pretty obvious watching a bunch of the interviews from the LA premiere with Zegler, where there is a marked difference between what she has been told to say versus what she said when she was allowed to run wild a few years ago, but this was all basically confirmed by Martin Kleber, the voice actor for Grumpy in the film, who said that the LA premiere changes were due to the, quote, controversy with Rachel. Kleber was also just generally really upset about the state of the event. He told news outlets that while the actresses in the film are entitled to their political views, those opinions shouldn't have overshadowed everyone else's hard work, and honestly, he's not wrong. He added, it really isn't going to be a red carpet. It's basically going to be a pre-party, watch the movie, and that's it. Because of all this controversy, Disney is afraid of the blowback from different people in society. Once again, yes they are. But we'll come back to this shortly. Beyond that, and I just want to make note of this because I do think it matters, apparently there is tension between Zegler and Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen in this movie. Yeah, okay, this woman is very clearly jealous of this woman. Sure, give me a break. Zegler and Gadot find themselves on opposite sides of the Israel-Palestine conflict, given that Gadot is Israeli, and Zegler has repeatedly articulated her support for Palestine. Palestine, which I'm not going to get into in this video. I am not a geopolitical commentator unless I feel like it, and I don't feel like it. Anyway, back in late 2024, when Zegler tweeted about the Snow White trailer getting millions of views on YouTube, she followed up her post with another stating, "Free Palestine," because of course she did. So, you know, there's that. People were also speculating about this in early March after the pair presented at the Oscars together. Obviously, I went ahead and watched this clip, but I don't have a lot to report. I didn't find it to be particularly interesting. Not a lot happened. It just seemed like two actresses who were trying to do their job. But who knows? Maybe they hate each other in secret and spend their time sending each other fish in the post, like the mafia.
It's like when the mafia send each other fish through the post.
Anyway, what's really interesting to me about all of this is that it seems Disney has finally cottoned on to the fact that people don't particularly like when actors and actresses trash the films that they're starring in. And it seems like Disney has been on this learning journey for a while now. Learning that the pushback doesn't only play out with online vitriol, it shows up in how a film will perform. With Snow White, for example, there is early data that the film is on track to make $50 million its opening weekend in the US and Canada. $50 million sounds like a lot to us little peon people, but this isn't a terribly good performance by Disney standards. In fact, it's sort of terrible when compared to Disney's other live-action remakes, like the 2019 Lion King, which made almost $192 million, and 2017's Beauty and the Beast, which made almost $175 million. And look, if I'm being fair, there are 1,000,001 reasons why a film could fail. Like in this case, for example, maybe Snow White is just too far away from this generation and can't cross those generational lines. I guess it goes to show that maybe rather than endlessly doing remakes, Disney should invest its money in creating something new. Wouldn't that be crazy? Crazy! Returning to Kleber's earlier quote about Disney fearing blowback, back in mid-February 2025, Vulture published an article about Disney's growing fear of its own audience after its many failures and the immense backlash to its obvious political agenda. The piece highlighted recent comments made by Anthony Mackie, who stars as Captain America in the new Captain America film during a press release for the movie. Mackie made one statement that went particularly viral. He said that Captain America represents a lot of different things, but doesn't think the term America should be one of them.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations.
This, of course, went over as well as you'd expect. Mackie was blasted online for his anti-American sentiments, leading to a hasty retraction and apology. Although this article focuses very heavily on Disney and Marvel and whatnot, it does very much highlight that Disney is aware of its overall downward trajectory and how it's doing its absolute best to not piss off audiences like it's been doing for the last number of years. This is just spectacular. So while they likely had Mackie swiftly retracting his statements, Disney isn't even giving Zegler the opportunity to make any. Which makes sense given it was her comments that set all of this nonsense in motion in the first place, at least in part. People were already incredibly critical of Disney's decision to cast Zegler, despite the company patting itself on the back for casting a Latina actress in the role. Many viewed her as physically inappropriate as Snow White. Zegler was seemingly aware of this, as at the time she tweeted, "Yes, I am Snow White. No, I am not bleaching my skin for the role." And maybe, honestly, it could have all stopped here, although this is a really silly and stupid thing to tweet, but it didn't. In 2022, she went on to make a series of additional comments about the original 1937 film. She described how Snow White was not going to be saved by the prince in her movie, but would instead work to save herself. She also called the prince weird, a stalker, and joked that his scenes might be cut altogether.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no Prince or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows?
Unsurprisingly, this didn't go over well, but what she was saying was obviously correct, given that we now know Disney axed the song Someday My Prince Will Come, which was present in the 1937 film, and replaced it with a new song called Waiting on a Wish, which I have heard 9 billion times trying to make this. Zegler also made additional comments in other interviews too, saying that the original film scared her.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again.
There was a period of time where we didn't hear too much from our controversial queen, but then after the election of Donald Trump, she popped back up to tell us that she hopes that Trump supporters never know peace. Which she then promptly apologized for saying. I bet that was a fun call from Disney. I'm not sure when it happened precisely, but somewhere along this road, Disney realized that this woman is a loose cannon. And while I'm personally of the opinion that her initial earlier comments in 2022 were sanctioned by Disney, I also believe that they didn't realize just how unlikable she is and how poorly received her comments would be. In one giant and hilarious miscalculation. But now they know, and that much has been established by their behavior surrounding this film's release, but also by the comments made by industry insiders. One in particular was recently quoted as saying, "Disney's lead actress is out of control. They don't know what to do. She's an outspoken 20-something and Disney chiefs have called her directly and asked her to tone down her posts. They've called her management, but she won't listen. It's been this way the entire way through filming, but it's the tying of her politics to Snow White that is upsetting." This is sort of ironic when you consider the fact that Disney had absolutely no problem doing its own version of political agendaing, which is exactly what landed it in this position in the first place. Self-awareness. 0. It's also worth reminding all of you that while Zegler is, yes, a giant liability, Disney had absolutely no problem imploding this situation all on its own. Let's not forget all of the controversy surrounding the Seven Dwarves. The company had seemingly decided to trade out the little men for 7 magical creatures, who viewers got to see in some very early leaked photos. Hilariously, this just pissed fans off further, and even pissed off dwarf actors and actresses. Jason Acuna, known as Wee Man in the Jackass franchise, was especially mad, saying, "You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. It's for dwarves. Why are you hiring Snow White and the 7 average people?" So this was bad. Audiences weren't getting a Snow White that looked right. They were getting a Snow White who disparages the original film, and now they were getting 7 insane-looking homeless people instead of the beloved dwarves. Realizing that they'd made a grave mistake due to all of the online vitriol, I imagine, Disney pushed out the film's release date a whole year and set about refilming entire parts of the movie. Before long, we got to see what the magical people would now look like, and they'd all been replaced with horrific CGI abominations. In the copiest of copes ever, the film's director, Mark Webb, said that they had always planned to use CGI for the dwarves. Okay, sure, Mark, we believe you. So that's kind of where we're at right now, with a film that is on the cusp of being released, that is currently being given a bunch of positive but likely astroturfed reviews, where the actors and actresses are very frustrated and mad at the way that things are going down, with a lead actress who is barred from talking to anybody, and really a situation with a film that might really need to be taken out back and shot. So just business as usual, I guess. With all of this being said, it's absolutely no surprise that Disney is apparently just going through the motions and waiting for this situation to be over. A situation which, just by the way, they created for themselves. Ultimately, I am personally so interested to see how this film actually does at the box office, and maybe for the first time in a very long time, I might actually go and see a movie in the cinema, which I don't really want to do, but maybe I will. But I think it's fair to say that this film has been a mess from start to finish for a multitude of reasons. And again, to be completely fair, not all of them revolve around Zegler. And while the original 1937 Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was supposed to be Disney's folly, it was supposed to be this film that was going to be a money pit and perform terribly at the box office, but ultimately became a major success. Well, maybe that's what the 2025 version is meant to be. Maybe we're coming full circle and we're finally going to see Disney's folly, but it's going to play out in modernity, which is just hilarious. I'm sorry. I guess we will just have to wait and see. And in the end, only time will really tell how much worse or better this situation is going to get. Now, on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Fume using the link in the description. They have been a massive supporter of this channel, and I really like them as a brand. So if this is something that is of interest to you, absolutely go and check them out and see if maybe this is the right fit. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you kind of like me on this issue where you're just kind of hanging back and waiting to see what happens? Are you happy and excited about the fact that this film is coming out? Are you disappointed because you think that it's going to be terrible and nowhere near as good as the original? Are you happy about the fact that Disney is kind of getting kicked in the face and is having to take all of these precautions to keep Rachel Zegler away from everybody? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you think that the drama and the controversy around this film has been warranted? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you are not subscribed already and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them and I like hearing your feedback. Of course, if you have any video suggestions, feel free to let me know those as well. But in the interim, stay safe and well, my wonderful pretty people, and I will see you in the next video.